Hello everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to do a really cool effect in visual effects graph in Unity. So you see here the player walks around and coloring the particles. So the setup is I have made a custom attribute to it, so they have a health attribute, and whenever the health gets less or actually equal to 0, it kind of pops and bursts. So yeah, this is the setup that we're gonna do, and I think it looks really good. So you can do a lot of fun things with this. Paint, you can paint. Isn't this cool? So we're not gonna use lifetime or anything, we're just gonna do a single burst and use a node called alive to kind of make an event for it to pop these extra bursts. So let's get started from a fresh scene. And I have the fresh scene here, empty. And if you don't have, you want to go into Package Manager and do this starter asset. And here you get, let's see, third person controller, and don't download that one. And we can use it, and I'm having it here downloaded. So I'm just going to drag in that scene here, and I'm going to move this main camera player into the scene. So that's nice. And I see I have this controller. I'm going to remove that. That's we're going to add it later. And also we can't have two cameras, so I'm going to remove this camera here. So now this one works. If I play now, this one runs around. And all right, so we need a VFX graph. Create. And we're going to do this visual effects graph. And I'm going to do the minimal system and set it up. So it's going to be, I'm going to have the same name as the scene or the tutorial itself. I like to have it like that. So we're going to add it to scene. So there's our VFX graph. And we're also going to have a shader graph, URP lit shader graph. And we're only going to do a really simple one. So we're going to, in here, we're going to do a color. And we're going to put it in here so we can access this from the VFX graph. So like this, and we want this, I want the smoothness to 0.1 because I want it not shiny. And then the last thing and important, graph settings, tick support VFX graph. And of course save asset. And now we can use this material here inside the VFX graph. So, and let's see, we have this, super nice. And I'm going to show you, we're going to have a controller. This controller gonna read the position of the player and put it into the VFX setup so we can know where to kill the particles. And I already have the script here, so I'm going to open it and show how it works. So here it is, and we actually don't need this one. We don't need this one. So you need to add Unity engine.vfx, and this is the player position. This is the VFX graph, and by doing this one, set vector free, we just push this position into this vector free. Of course, this one we don't have yet, so we need to create it in the VFX graph. So if we open up the VFX graph, and here we have it. So here we need to do a vector free, and we need to name it the same. So now this is the player position. And of course, in your scene, you have the controller, So add this script to the controller, and you take the player position to the player position and the VFX graph to the VFX graph. So in the VFX graph, we're going to do some stuff. So the first thing we want to do is spawn system. We're going to do a burst, single burst, because we're just going to spawn particles one time. So we can do 5,000 particles, and we will never spawn more times. So that's why we use single burst, only one time. And down in initialize, we're going to make sure that we put it in a circle. So the way to do that, you just do set position. We can use a shape arc circle. And if we do the scene, we can put it down here. So we see what's going on. So you can actually see we have a circle going on here, but it's not as expected. And the reason is, first off, we have 5,000 particles in the single burst, but here capacity is only 64. So we need to add, I'm going to add 1,000,000 here. So that's kind of the max number we can have. So we can have 1,000,000, but we have 5,000 at the moment. And here, set position, shape arc, we're going to change from, let's see, is it, yeah. So we're not going to use surface, but we're going to use a volume. And then we have the circle like this. So now it's a plane. And circle, transform, and angle. We're just going to rotate it 90 in the X. Press save, and then we have a plane of it. So this is super nice. This is what we want. And we're going to do radius 3 times. So we have a bigger one. So this is what we're going to work with. So that's what we do here in initialize. We're going to do some more stuff and in update, but in output particle qual, we're going to delete it. And we're going to have a mesh, URP lit mesh. And now you see we have the default stuff going on here. It's a capsule, but we're going to change because we made our own shader here. So this is the one we made, and we're going to plug it in here. And also, I don't want to use a capsule. I want to use a sphere. So here we have this one. And now if we save, it doesn't work. And I can tell you that if we go into our shader, this one, and I did save before, but if I save the asset again, you will see it can update. There's some kind of a bug going on. So if you have that trouble, you can just do that too. So now it works. And let's see here. We're going to go in here. You have all the particles going on. And yeah. So we have the player position here. And just to debug so everything is set up and working correctly, we're going to take the player position and we're going to do get position. So when we get position, we do get each position of each particle. Then we just do a distance. So now we're going to get the distance between the particle and the player. And if we just plug this one into the color and save, now you see it's actually do work. And if we, so if we do here instead, I'm going to add execute in edit mode and save. And because I did execute here, now the script runs in edit mode, so I don't need to press play. So we have the player position here, and when that script will work. So when I move around here, you see it's kind of work, and you see the color is dark, and then it gets up. So now we know everything is set up and work and connected in the right way. So then I'm going to remove this color thing here, and we're going to set up the health parameter. So whenever we do initialize the particle, we're also going to make a add custom attribute, and it's going to be a health. So copy this name so you spell it correctly again. Here we do the health, and we're going to set it to 1. So that's the health property for each particle. Down here we're going to do set custom attribute, because we're going to change this health. So health again, and out here we're going to do get custom attribute, and we're going to get health again. So what happens in the update, we do read the health and just save the same value. So we actually don't really do anything. And we're going to use this distance values to make a lerp. So if we make a lerp here, whenever the distance here is more than 1 or 1, we're going to read this one here. So this is going to subtract values from health. Whenever, no, actually, I said it the wrong way. When the distance is 0 between the particle and the player, we're going to subtract a lot. But if the distance is more than 1, we won't subtract anything from the health. So it's a little bit not complicated, but a little bit complex. So if we do a remap, and make sure you add clamp here, because we want to clamp the values. So what's happened here? We get the distance value and into the input, and we only want to read the value when it's between 0 and 1. So whenever the value is 0, we want to return value 1. And when the distance is 1 or more, we're gonna return 0. So that means when the distance is 1 or more, we're gonna read from 0, and this is 0. That means we won't change the health value. But if the distance between the particle and the player is closer to 0, we're going to return 1, and then we're going to read from this part. So what we want to do, we're going to have the health here, and we're going to actually subtract. We're going to subtract delta time like this. So delta time, it will take 1 second to remove 1 unit. So it will take 1 second to kill a particle, in a sense. So if we put it over here, and now if we do, so we have the health, and now we can actually do get custom attribute here, and we'll read the health again. And we plug it into color, and we essentially get the same value as before, almost. So what's going on here, the health value is subtracting all the time. So when it gets to 0 with these nodes, it just continues to subtract. So when here you get like -50 or something now, and that's why these colors look so strange. So here you can just do a max. So if you do a maximum, you always get the maximum value of the input and 0. So let's say if it's -10, 0 is more than -10, so it will always be more than 0. So now you see it will never go more than that. And also you see here, maybe you don't really want it to read 1 unit away, so you can read it from the distance from 0, or maybe to 0.3. So it will only read, let's save it and see what happens. So now you see it only reads 0.3 units. And I think that's better. So we're going to leave it like that. So let me see. So I have everything here. Yeah, I think we have everything. And here we can actually, before we close this tutorial, and I'm going to continue the next one, we can have colors. So if I do 2 colors here, so this is going to represent the value when it's not killed, or health 1. This one going to represent when it's closer to being killed, when the health is 0. So we just do a lerp, and when the health is closer to 0, we read this one, and when it's the health is closer to 1, we read this one. So I'm just gonna put it a little bit more neat like this. And if we plug this one in, now you see it's only, yeah, only color like this. So this is super nice. And I'm gonna just subtract. I'm gonna, yeah, I think that's gonna be okay. 1 second before it pops, it's okay. So now we have this set up, and in the next tutorial, I'm gonna continue and make the full effect about this. So this is the graph we have so far. I'm gonna put like this, so if you wanna see it. So far, this is what we have. So thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.